Okay, so the first thing I need to say about this is I didn't make it. I profoundly, profoundly wish that I had, but I didn't, and I would really encourage you to go and have a look at it and learn some more about the author. Okay. I like to walk, so I apologise. I'm going to point and then I'm going to come back so you can hear me. I'm also apologising to those of you who don't speak Australian. I speak very fast. If I speak too fast, please wave your arms around. I'm happy to slow down. Okay, so what you're actually looking at is a map of the world. I think you've got that. What you're probably not understanding quite so well is what all the little flashes are about. Very quickly, the yellow sun-like flashes are births, and the darker sort of pebble in a pond graphics are deaths. I'm going to focus on those. There is actually something else going on in this map, which is around CO2 output, but I'm just going to really focus on the births and deaths for the moment. What I would really like you to do, because I'm going to talk about two other things, is while I am talking, if you get bored, I want you to just keep coming back to this map and just think about all the stories that just kind of flow out of what you see around births and deaths. And just sort of keep those in mind as I talk about some other stuff and tell you a little bit about what's going on the other side of the Atlantic. For my sins, I am enormously involved in working with public service broadcasters. I think we call those the traditional public service organisations. And my job is to try and help them make sure that public service media remains relevant, or at least that's what I think my job is. Sometimes we disagree about that. And so what I wanted to just really talk to you very, very quickly is about a couple of things that are going on in the UK where we are seeing significant activity from public service broadcasters as they try and wrap their heads around what it means to be relevant in a participatory age, which for broadcasters, as I'm sure many of you have come to understand, is an enormously challenging area. Their relationship with their audiences tends to be, I live up here, I broadcast to you, you gratefully receive what I broadcast to you. And in the case of the BBC, you pay me quite a lot of money every year, or you go to jail. So you can imagine it is quite a shift for organisations like the BBC when the audiences start talking back to them. It's really tough for them. I was involved in a project a few years ago, which I'm very happy to talk about at length to anyone who's interested, called the Creative Archive, which was arguably the BBC's first attempt to try and figure out how it could be relevant in the participatory age. And the way that it decided to try and tackle that was it realised it was sitting on about 1 million hours of AV material in its archives, and it thought it might be kind of cool if it gave that to the public. For lots and lots of reasons that didn't kind of work out. But you can see that public broadcasting is genuinely in a tough spot about how it moves from being somebody who sits at the top of a broadcast tower to somebody who is of the public and a node in the network that the public participates in. Very challenging for them. Another effort is one that's coming out of Channel 4. Channel 4 is another public service broadcaster in the UK. Channel 4 has made a very, very interesting announcement lately called 4IP. I don't know what the IP stands for, and I've had many conversations with Channel 4, and neither did they. They just thought it sounded cool, I think. And what they've decided to do is to try and really tackle the notion of public media in the participatory space. And they have set up, or in the process of setting up, a commissioning pot, basically a big chunk of money, that is going to be going only and exclusively to online projects. In other words, for the first time, they will not be connected to television output. This is a massive, massive move by them. The amount of money that they're talking about putting aside at the moment is around £50 million. I'm getting 1 minute. It's about £50 million, which for those of us that work in the multi-platform and interactive industry in the UK is fabulous news. But I suppose I wanted to highlight this because I think for those of you that are trying to understand the role of public media and in the participatory age, these are both really interesting, that Channel 4 is a really interesting space to be keeping an eye on at the moment. I wanted to finish very quickly by pointing out another little weirdness in the UK, which I suspect you guys take for granted here in North America, which is in the UK we don't, as the public, own our maps. The Crown owns our maps and they charge money for us to use maps. As a result of this, we haven't seen anything like the same flourishing of map use and map projects in the UK. What we have seen, however, God bless the British, is a bunch of fabulously loony guys and girls, running around with GPS units creating a new map of the UK. I really, really encourage you to go and have a look. It's called Open Maps, unsurprisingly, and they literally are doing all sorts of really interesting things, including attaching GPS units to bike couriers and taxis. They do the equivalent of hiking trips where they give everyone a GPS unit and get them to just literally march around the moors. It's a fantastic project, but I wanted again, because I think today we're going to be talking about lots and lots of different things, just sort of open up the discussion and point out that it's not the same everywhere and that we have different ways of approaching this. Finally, back to our map here. Did anybody actually see if there was a birth or death in Australia? There was? There wasn't, was there? No. I've stared at this for hours. It would appear that Australia actually just has no one dying and no one is born, which statistically is borne out. You'd have to literally sit there and look at it for a couple of hours before something... Yes!
But somebody died.
Somebody died.
Yeah, actually, you know what?
Sick.
You're more likely to see somebody dying. And so sort of coming back to the storytelling, which is my passion. I'm a creator. I work with the documentary community to make interactive documentaries. That's what I sort of do when I am not fighting with public service broadcasters and with information and access to knowledge organisations, is I like to tell stories. And the thing that I really, really like about this map and this project is the simplicity of it. We all know that there are lots of people being born in India and China. And when you see it like this, however, suddenly it just becomes that much more powerful and that much more obvious. The other thing that it starts to do for me is I find it incredibly inspiring. Whenever I'm feeling a little bit of a creative low, I can always think of new projects coming out of this. So the fact that we've just seen a death before we've seen anything else, to me asks the question, why on earth do Australians have such a problem with immigration? Population appears to be going down. I'm going to leave it there. I'm well over time. Thank you very much for your time.